My sister-in-law moved into our guest room and slowly took over my closet, my office, and my groceries. My husband said she was going through a lot. She started wearing my clothes. Then I found my journal in her room, pages marked in red. So I started writing something new. My name's Renee. I'm 39, married, no kids. We live in Lexington, Kentucky. I work from home managing logistics for a distribution company. My husband, Mark, is a high school English teacher. We've been married 10 years. It hasn't always been perfect, but we've been steady. Or at least I thought we were. Then his sister, Brandy, showed up. She's younger than us, 32, and she's always been a bit of a train wreck. Fired from 3 jobs in 2 years. A parade of boyfriends. Most of them losers. Her life is always some chaotic mess that she somehow turns into everyone else's responsibility. So when she called Mark crying about her latest breakup and asked if she could crash for a couple weeks, I didn't say no.
I didn't even want to be the mean sister-in-law.
She's his family. She showed up 2 days later, suitcase in hand, crying and dramatic. I hugged her. I made tea. I even helped her unpack. That was in March. Now it's October. She's still here. In the beginning, she stayed in the guest room. She kept mostly to herself. I figured she needed space to breathe. But by May, things shifted. My groceries started disappearing. I'd come home, and entire containers of yogurt were gone. Protein bars?
Eaten.
She drank all my kombucha, didn't even try to replace it. It's not about the food, it's about the pattern. I told Mark, hey, I think we need to set some ground rules. He gave me that look, the one where he's already tired before the conversation even starts. She's going through a lot. Can't we just be supportive? That line became his refrain. Anytime I brought up a concern, Brandy blasting the TV at 2 a.m., Brandy borrowing my skincare products, Brandy leaving her laundry in our dryer for 3 days, I got the same line. She's going through a lot. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep our house clean, manage a full-time job from a home that no longer felt like mine, and keep from screaming. Then Brandy started working from my office. She said it helped her feel professional. One day I walked in and found her wearing my blue light glasses like she'd always lived there. I told her to find another space. She said, "It's not like you own the air in here." I started locking the office. Then came the clothes. She started wearing my leggings because hers were in the wash. Then my hoodie. Then my brand new sweater. I only knew because I saw her in it on the porch, talking on the phone. No shame. When I said, "Hey, that's mine," she laughed and said, "You never wear it anyway." Mark's response? Just let her borrow stuff. She's not doing it maliciously. By the time August hit, I was barely sleeping. I felt watched in my own home. She never knocked before entering rooms. She started mimicking me, wearing her hair like mine, eating the same meals I eat, even ordering the same makeup I wear. And then, 3 nights ago, I found my old journal. I'd kept it tucked away in a storage bin in the closet, behind old sweaters. It wasn't meant for anyone. It was where I wrote all the messy stuff you don't want anyone to see. Fights with Mark. My fear about turning 40. The time I caught him texting an ex, and chose to forgive him, because I wasn't sure I could do life alone. I found it under her pillow. Pages bent. Lines highlighted. Notes written in red. She'd been reading it. Studying me. That's not curiosity. That's obsession. So I started writing again. Not in a journal this time. In a plain black notebook I keep on me at all times. I don't leave it out. I don't label it. But in it, I'm writing everything I see, every line she crosses. I'm building a map. Because this isn't just about groceries anymore. This is about me taking my life back. And I'm going to make sure she never forgets how badly she crossed the wrong person. The week after I found my journal in Brandy's room, I didn't say anything.
Not yet.
I needed time. I needed to see how far she was willing to go. That notebook I started? It became my sanity. I logged everything. What she touched, what she moved, what she said. I started noticing patterns. She always used my things when I was gone. She waited until I left the house for appointments or errands. And every time I came home, something small was off. A drawer slightly open. A bottle of perfume turned around. A ring moved. It wasn't random.
She was studying me.
One night, I pretended to go out. I drove around the block and parked on a side street. Sat in my car. Waited. 10 minutes later, the upstairs light in our bedroom turned on. She was in there. I walked in the front door 20 minutes later, real slow, not making a sound. I heard the creak of floorboards above me. My floorboards. I came up the stairs and opened the bedroom door fast. She was standing at my jewelry box. She didn't even flinch. "Oh," she said, like I was the one being weird. "I was just looking for some earrings. Thought you wouldn't mind." I didn't say anything. I just stared. She smiled and walked past me. I told Mark that night. She was in our room, going through my things. He rubbed his eyes. "Renee, she's family. You're blowing this out of proportion. Maybe you need to talk to someone."
Talk to someone. Like I was the problem now.
That's when I realized I was alone in this. He wasn't going to protect me. If anything, he'd already taken her side. I started going over conversations in my head, how often he defended her, how distant he'd become with me. He barely touched me anymore, barely asked how I was doing. And now she was walking through our house like she owned it. The next morning, I put a camera in my office. A small one, hidden on the bookshelf. 2 days later, I checked the footage. She'd been sitting in there, wearing my robe, typing on my laptop. I watched the footage 4 times. She was reading my email, scrolling through my documents. She opened a folder labeled Taxes 2023. Then she opened another one, Private Underscore Notes. I hadn't even remembered creating that one. She was reading everything I'd ever vented to myself in writing. And then she did something I can't unsee. She opened a Word document, deleted a paragraph, rewrote it, and saved it. She edited my work. She was rewriting my words. I printed the footage, printed stills from the video, and laid them all in a folder. I confronted Mark again. I have proof now. She's been in my files. My personal stuff. He looked through the folder, silent. Then he set it down and said, "I think you're taking this way too far. You're obsessed with her." Obsessed. That's what he called me. I almost laughed. But I didn't. I just nodded. I've stopped asking him to see it. I've stopped trying to convince him. Because I know now he's not just blind. He's complicit. Brandy isn't just trying to become me. She already has him convinced that I'm the problem. But I'm not going to argue anymore. I've already started setting the next part in motion. And when it's done, they'll both finally see what it feels like to be erased. I started sleeping with my wallet in my pillowcase. That's how bad it got. I no longer trusted anything or anyone in that house. Not even Mark. I'd wake up some mornings and feel disoriented, like the air itself was off. My skincare bottles moved, clothes left out that I hadn't worn. Once, I found my work badge for the office job I left years ago placed neatly on my desk. I hadn't seen it in ages. It made no sense. I started wondering if I was losing it, but I wasn't. Brandy was gaslighting me, and I think Mark was helping her. That realization didn't come all at once. It came in pieces. Like when I came home early and heard them whispering in the kitchen, voices dropping as soon as I stepped inside. Or the time I checked my joint bank account and saw $600 missing. Mark said he used it for an emergency car repair. But I checked, his car hadn't moved in a week. I called my bank and asked for the ATM footage. They couldn't release it to me without a subpoena. But I know it was her. I started going through the files on my laptop more carefully. One night, I found a temp folder buried under system files. Inside it, screenshots. Dozens. Of my emails. My journal entries. Even a Zoom call I'd had with my supervisor. She'd been screen recording. That means she had access. Somehow, she got my password. I went into the office the next day, first time in months. Told my boss I needed to update all credentials and file a privacy incident. I said it was a shared device issue. I didn't give details. But I backed up all my files to an encrypted drive and wiped the laptop clean. Started using a burner for personal stuff. That's when things started unraveling for her. She began acting erratic, more moody, defensive. One night, she yelled at me for invading her privacy when I asked why one of my necklaces was in her purse. I found it while looking for the car keys. Yes, my own keys had gone missing.
Mark rushed to her defense again.
You're digging for things to be mad about. You've become paranoid, Renee. That night, I checked Mark's phone while he was in the shower. I'd never done it before, but I had to know.
They'd been texting about me.
For months. And not just updates.
Jokes. Smirks.
Inside references. Mark called me Ice Queen in one message. Said I never made room for Brandy in our life. Brandy replied, she never deserved this life anyway. I sat on the edge of the bed with his phone in my hands, heart racing. They were in this together. Not sexually, not that I could tell. But emotionally? Absolutely. She had replaced me. And he had let her. But the mistake they both made was thinking I'd be the kind of woman who walks away quietly. I don't make noise. I make moves. And I'd just made the first one. After I read those messages between them, I couldn't breathe right for hours. I just sat there in the dark, phone in hand, shaking. There were too many questions. How long had this been going on? Why him? Why me? But most of all, what the hell were they planning? Because it didn't feel random anymore. She was pushing me out of my own life. And he was helping her do it. The next morning, I left early and drove to a law office across town. Quiet building. No sign on the door. Referral-only kind of place. I met with a divorce attorney named Carla Greer, mid-50s, sharp eyes, no small talk. I brought everything. Printouts of their texts. Screen grabs from my laptop. The footage from the hidden camera. Even screenshots of the bank withdrawals and timestamps from our Nest cam showing who was home when. She flipped through it all like she'd seen worse. But when she got to the part about the journal and the impersonation, she paused. You think she's trying to assume your identity?
Not literally, I said.
But she's taken over everything I used to be. My space. My routines. My husband.
Carla didn't blink.
We'll file quietly, she said. And while we're doing that, you're going to stay calm, compliant, and invisible. Let them think they've won. You'll need access to all accounts, mortgage documents, vehicle titles. Get copies. Don't alert them. I nodded. And that's exactly what I did. For the next 2 weeks, I was silent. I made dinner like nothing had changed. Smiled. Watched movies with Mark. Laughed at Brandy's fake stories about job interviews she clearly never went to. I let them believe they had me pinned. While they watched TV, I was on my burner laptop logging every password, copying every statement, downloading every piece of proof. Mark's 401k? I made copies. Our joint credit line? I transferred my name off it. I had our home appraised quietly through a friend and started preparing for a forced sale. And while I was doing that, Brandy made her final mistake. She posted a photo online. It was just her in our backyard. A selfie. Innocent looking. But in the corner of the frame, on the patio table, was my journal. The one I had locked in my storage bin. She wasn't just reading it.
She wanted me to see it.
That's when I knew it wasn't enough to leave. I had to burn it down. Not the house. Not literally.
But them.
Their trust. Their money. Their reputations. Everything they built on top of me. The day everything flipped, I didn't raise my voice.
I didn't cry.
I didn't even pack a bag. I just left the house at 7:32 a.m. like I was headed to the grocery store. Instead, I drove to Carla's office and signed the final papers. Emergency divorce filing with full asset freeze pending hearing. I had enough documentation to justify immediate legal action. Brandy and Mark wouldn't even see it coming until the process server rang the doorbell. At 1:15 p.m., while they were both home eating lunch, I watched from my car down the street as the server knocked. Mark opened the door. I saw him take the envelope, confused at first. Then Brandy stepped into the doorway, barefoot, wearing my robe. She looked down at the packet in his hand,
Then up at him.
then over his shoulder, like she could feel me watching. 2 hours later, my phone exploded with texts and calls from Mark. Then came the emails. Then the voicemail. Why are you doing this? We can talk about this, Renee. Don't ruin everything. I didn't answer, because the legal freeze meant they couldn't access our joint accounts anymore. The house was under court review. No new loans.
No withdrawals.
Everything locked. And I'd already moved the funds from my personal savings into a separate, protected account under my maiden name. I'd also already spoken to my company's HR department. I told them there had been unauthorized access to my device from someone impersonating me and provided timestamps and video stills. Brandy's face, in my office chair, using my login credentials. They reported it to the company's legal team and terminated her freelance contract, which, surprise, she had somehow signed under my name.
Fraud.
They also began a digital forensics investigation, which would be handed over to law enforcement. But I wasn't done. I sent one email to Brandy. Subject line, found something of yours. Body, just an attachment. The photo of her holding my journal. I included a CC to Mark's school administration, because Brandy had also been using the school's faculty email through Mark's access to reach out to people pretending to be me, including contacting one of my coworkers. The digital trail was easy to trace. She'd left IP fingerprints all over it. 2 days later, Mark was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. And Brandy? She packed her things and fled the house. I found out from a neighbor that she left in the middle of the night.
No will no explanation.
The house was mine again.
Quiet. Cold.
But mine. The divorce finalized 62 days later. I walked away with the house, the car, my savings, and most importantly, my peace. Mark tried to reach out a few times. A letter, a few calls. He even sent flowers once. I donated them to the hospital. Brandy never contacted me again. I heard from a mutual friend that she ended up in North Carolina, trying to start fresh. I smiled when I heard that, because there's nothing left of me for her to copy anymore. I rewrote my story, and in the final version, she disappears. Quietly.
Just like I planned.